Alright, so the fourfold approach to male pattern baldness is addressing the disease in the 4 layers to the human body, which was how the ancient alchemists and medical practitioners that's how they viewed the body, right? It's not just our physical form, there are other layers to ourselves. So we have the physical body, but then beneath that there's an etheric body. That's the life force body. That's when you go to get an acupuncture treatment, that's what is worked on. So it's this life force energy, this energetic intelligence that flows through our body. And then we have the soul body. That's our animal body, our connection to our emotions, our desires, right? That's what gives us our animal nature. Right? We're given desire, and that's our animals had desire, emotions, needs. That's our animal layer, our emotions, our movement. Movement and emotions are kind of the same. They're the same thing. And then there's the spirit body, and that's unique to humans. It's our connection with the divine. That's what has us on kind of like a spiritual evolutionary path to get to higher realms. And these 3 bodies are what really is lacking in all of modern medicine, but I'm just going to be focusing on hair loss. Definitely lacking there. So physical body, there's stuff we can do in our physical body, but this is the limitation that you're going to find on the internet. Like there's this biohacker echo chamber where they're just all talking about the same sort of stuff, and they're just exhausting everything you can do with the physical body, which is only so much, right? There are other layers, and the deeper layers actually I think will have a greater effect on the expression of disease, the formation of disease, and the addressing of disease than the physical body, right? This is just the outer layer. There's only so much you can do with the physical body. But these biohackers, they've done everything, right? They exhaust everything, and you can try all their stuff, and I tried all their stuff, and it just doesn't work, right? Because I think the disease is deeper than physical, like cosmetic hair loss. I think the disease happens here, works its way up the chain. And for like a lot of detail on how I think that occurs, this is how my website is structured, and it's a lot of stuff. When I have some time, I got to go back and just like cut a lot of it, because it was just me working out all my ideas, and it got pretty long. But all the information is there. It's good information. So anyway, you go to the biohacker echo chamber on the internet, and they're going to talk about DHT and blood flow and how you can block your hormones and increase your blood. Everything you can do to increase blood flow to your hair, right? And there's only you can spend all day with some of this stuff, and I don't think it's going to get. I mean, I've done a lot of massaging and that sort of stuff, that sort of work. How do I get blood flow to my hair? And it's not. You don't get much bang for your buck. So I've been more focusing on life force flow, which I'll get to, and I've done videos on that. Anyway, and then there's the all natural community, and that's a lot of the massaging, but also like, just don't shampoo your hair, and like don't put chemicals on your hair, and like or you can just like don't eat this food, eat this food. And I'm like, I don't disagree with a lot of stuff that they're talking about, but I know from having an all natural lifestyle for almost 7 years now, it doesn't regrow hair. It doesn't stop. It's not the cause of the disease. The cause of the disease is an energetic imbalance in this area, and it's manifesting in this area. But there are some things that I think we can do on the physical body layer to get more bang for a buck. And the biggest one is skull contours. Reshaping your skull to get a sharper border that separates your forehead from the top of your head. I've done a lot of videos on this. Basically, like when the contour has been eroded, right, the border that separates the forehead from the top of the head, it just becomes like this sloping gradual curve up to the top of your head. Then the body reclassifies this part of your skull as forehead and stops growing hair there, right? Now my body, because this is sloping steeply down my face, this area, now it is forehead, right? There used to be a sharp contour here. There used to be vertical forehead, and then it sharply contoured to the top of my head. Now it's just a gradual sloping thing. And it's because of these bulging patterns that you see in men where You have kind of an expansion here, here, on top. So we're going to reestablish these skull contours, the flat forehead and the flat top of the head with a sharp border. We're going to sharp turn. Where that forehead sharply turns to the top of the head, that's where the hair grows. So we can reestablish that, then we can reestablish conditions for hair growth. There's a lot of stuff on my website about iron, because I think iron it's not at the root of the disease, but it causes it. In the way that we get, so what differentiates a male from a female in adulthood is this influx in iron that we get at puberty. Men get an increase in iron just naturally, and then women get a natural decrease, even if they're not menstruating. And the result of that is radical sexual dimorphism. Men get a lot harder, and women get a lot softer. I think men grow high, they grow, they get a huge growth spurt, shoulders broaden, head gets bigger, muscles get bigger, they just get harder overall. And females, they gain a lot of weight in their lower section, a lot of fat, right? It's just natural how it is. Iron makes you hard, or lack of it makes you softer. And there's something about that energetic hardening that I think is causing this male imbalance. Particularly, I think you can read it in the website, but what I think is going on is, like, there used to be a lot of rites of passages for men of puberty, and I think there's a way to harness the energy of iron, which is the male energy. It's the energy of Mars, which is Aries, corresponds to Aries in alchemy, the Greek god of war. Right? So it's this masculine archetype, and that energy, we get that influx of that, not so much the mineral as the energy from the mineral, that masculine energy, and it can cause this male imbalance where it starts shooting life force up in their head if it's not properly channeled into conquering our fear, right? If we don't learn how to conquer our fear and overcome like dangerous and adverse conditions, then we just get in our head and that shoots life force up there. We start ruminating and worrying and having all this disappointment, like we're not these warriors that we're supposed to be, spiritual or physical warriors. Like, you're just out there conquering your fear in every way, unafraid. And that's how we're supposed to be as males. But we're not, because we don't go through these rites of passages anymore. And so I think that energy turns in a negative way. That male energy turns in a negative direction, and we get in our heads and it starts expanding our skulls. The life force energy gets shot up in their skulls and it starts expanding out, because life force is a force. And there's ways that I think we can manage our iron with, like, bloodletting and then balancing it with copper. So copper is a female energy. Corresponds to Venus, the goddess of love. So having a good source or taking measures to get adequate amounts of copper in our diet, I think, is a good way to balance our natural iron. Also, bloodletting gets rid of iron. So we want to achieve that balance of male and female, because those are the two polar forces in nature. And a lot of these old philosophies, like traditional Chinese medicine, it's all about balance. You got the male energy, the female energy. Male goes up, shoots up into the skull, expands out. Female energy goes down, shoots into the hips, expands out. We females have a wide lower section, male have a wide upper body, and we go up, we're taller. We go up towards the heavens, females stay down closer to the earth. That's just the natural energy directions. It has an expansion nature, it's expansive in nature. That's why I think it's this life force of male polarity, male imbalance, up, life force expanding out. I go into a lot of detail about that on the website. But yeah, it's all about balancing the male and the female, balancing the iron and the copper. Those are two male and female energies in our body that comes from those minerals. So things we need to do to get more copper is just eating, like, shellfish. Shellfish has a lot of copper. And then I have some gut reset stuff, which I don't think is, like, that important. I think it is important just for your overall health, your overall physical health, and just, like, for clarity of mind. And I've had a lot of experience with this. It does seem to give you a hair boost, in my experience. Doesn't stop a receding hairline, doesn't stop a energetic imbalance, but it does, I think, thicken up your existing hair, makes it higher quality. But there are a lot of people walking around with torn up guts with full heads of hair, so it's not a root cause. But I have a lot of experience with this, so I put on the website. All right, and then moving on to the life force, the etheric body. So that's our plant body. So plants have a life force that flows through them, and we have that plant layer too. like one thing that plants and humans both do is breathe, and that's where we get the life force from the ether. It's in the air. The main way we get life force is through the breath, or we have to breathe every few seconds. Right? And air is more than gas. There's a life force there. So some things that we can do to improve the life force, or the work that we need to do in the life force body is, one, increase the life force flow. We want vigorous life force flow, because I think there's a lack of life force in our hair. Right? The life force that was here going to the hair, life force that used to go here to the hair is not going there anymore. Right? So we need to make sure we have a good life force flow. That's not the root cause of the disease. There are a lot of people with poor life force flow in modern living, but to get as good a life force flow as possible, that should be something that we should focus on. Right? It's good to have the life force flowing vigorously through your body. So things we can do to help that is liver detoxification, because the liver is the life force organ. It's responsible for circulating the life force. That's why it's called the liver. That's why our ancestors named it the liver, with the word live in there, because it circulates the life force. There's a lot of liver detox protocols, things you can do on the website. The other thing you can do is Qigong, which is inner work, life force energy work, to gather the Qi, the life force from nature, cultivate it within ourselves, and then move it around. Alright, so we want to increase the amount of, or increase the circulation of life force through our body. That's going to increase our overall vitality, and we show a lot of our vitality in our hair, right? It grays, it recedes, it just loses its luster in age, and that's just a lack of vitality. It's a lack of life force flow, which occurs naturally over time, but it doesn't have to dissipate as quickly as it does in modern living. Alright, the second thing, after we get good life force flowing through our body, is we want to decrease the life force concentration in our skulls. So I think the problem with the expanding skull is that there's too much life force concentrated in the skull, because of thinking, because of male emotions like anger. Like when you get angry, you can feel like an energy rising in your body. That's the life force. When you think and think and think and think and think, your head starts throbbing, and like, oh man, it's because there's a life force gets shot up into your head, into your prefrontal cortex, to produce those thoughts. It just concentrates there, and it pushes out slowly, little forces over time, and I think that's what expands the skull. So we want to reduce, and that's just nature. It's natural with males, because we're thinkers. Females are intuitive. That's down in the gut. Right, so their natural energy direction pulls that life force down into their gut. But with males, it naturally rises up into our skulls. We're thinkers, we're warriors, and women can worry too, but we're more susceptible to anger, rising emotions. Right, so we want to do things to keep that, lower the emotional energy, lower the life force energy in our bodies. And you do it with just simple breath work and other meditations. If you just focus your awareness on the lower parts of your body, that'll move the life force concentration down. So breathing is if you just do focused breathing, it'll move the life force down into the abdomen, which is where the intuition is, where the female energy reservoir is, and you'll stimulate that and help with with the male imbalance. And then some more complex things that I'm working on. I don't have strong knowledge in these energy healing modalities, but the next thing, once you move the life force down in the body to correct that male imbalance, is that we can move it back, like specifically to the hair. Right, how do we get the life force flowing back to the hair follicles? You can do stuff like, theoretically, maybe acupuncture will help, doing like tuning fork stuff, homeopathy, herbalism. There's a lot of untapped stuff there in energy healing that a lot of these biohackers they're not addressing. They're not talking about any of this life force stuff from what I've seen. But I think there's a lot of potential here, because I think it's not a matter of blood flow. Blood and life force go together, but like once the life force gets cut off, then the blood flow stops. So you can do as much as you can to get the blood to the hair again, but you're going to get more bang for your buck if you can get the life force flowing back to your hair. That's what I think. Anyway, All right, so that's what I'm focused on. I can do some blood flow stuff, massaging. I'm not against massaging, but some of this is more advanced. This is more. This is going to get you. I think it's more economical to get the life force, more strategic, getting the life force flowing back to there, and then complement it with some blood flow stuff. All right, the video's getting long. All right, so this one's pretty short. So there's this phenomenon with men with male pattern baldness where they have calcified skull foramen, which are these little holes in your skull. And this was discovered by Frederick Hosel, some German physician in the 40s who's doing autopsies, and he noticed bald guys, the natural holes in the skull, for them, they were all calcified shut. So that's sclerosis. Sclerosis is excess hardening in the body, and that's caused by lack of warmth. And it's cured by warmth. Anything you can do to warm the body is going to decalcify. And the soul body deals with our emotions, and I think the most important part of our soul body is our heart, because that's our most emotional organ. The emotions, each organ has its own emotional constitution. There's certain emotions that heal it and impair it. But the heart, I think, is the most emotional organ because it's the only organ that we actually draw it for to represent an emotion, and it's love, and the most important emotion there is. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. So the heart needs love more than anything, and love provides warmth to the heart. I think there's a problem with the circulatory system. That's why our skulls are calcifying, because the heart is no longer listening to the needs of the hair. The hair's struggling, it's dying, the life force is cut off. Hey, we need more blood. The life force got cut off, and the life force isn't flowing, so the blood's not going to get there. And just complaining over and over. Hey, we need more stuff. We need more stuff. And eventually, the heart, if it's too hardened, if it's too cold, it's not going to have that love, that nurturing, loving warmth to nurture the hair. And so I think that's why it just sclerotizes the skull, so then it pinches off the venous network, which is the information coming back from the hair to the heart, right? That's what the veins do. It delivers back information. What does that thing need more of? The heart doesn't want to listen anymore. Sclerosis cuts off the information flow. There's a hardening, there's a coldness there. So we want to do things that warm our hearts. And what we can do, the best way to warm our hearts is to provide it with love. And an alternate form of love is passion or enthusiasm. And soul's connected to the emotions, connected to movement. So the more movement that we do with enthusiasm, the more warming energy we're going to give to our hearts, right? Do what you're passionate about. So the more we can align our work with our heart, with what we're passionate about, the more warmth we can deliver to our heart, and the less sclerosis we'll have, and possibly even reverse the sclerosis with all the warmth going to our heart. Same thing with exercise. I'm all about exercise. I played college sports, and they taught us, I was in the gym a lot, and I just think the whole system is it's just an extension of the workday, in my experience. I've worked out for decades, and I look at the gym, and people are just miserable. And it's better than doing nothing, right? But I see people do the same exercise routine every day. Go to the gym and do the same routine, and they never get any healthier looking. I just never seen any improvement with them. And they don't look that good. You want to avoid routines. Routines are gonna gonna crush your soul. The body wants to move, and wants to move freely, right? We go through our work day, and we hate our job, and then we go to the gym because we need to get our exercise in. It's just an extension of the workday. It's more drudgery. This is an opportunity to start to move with variety. That we're not taking this opportunity, and it's an opportunity to move outside. Get outside. The soul corresponds to the element of air and movement. You want to move outside. Be like the wind. The wind blows outside, and it blows every way. The body wants to move. We want to move freely. It's about freedom. That's what's lacking in modern society. The the society is, the way we're conditioned is like where we put ourselves in our own like mental prisons. We imprison ourselves, and this is one way to break free. Right, just move freely. That's one way to break free from the prison of modern living, the mental prisons. We have to work. We have to have a job. We have to get a house. We have to. It's like, I mean, some of those things are good, but like, we just get conditioned to believe like we have to do certain things, and we have to be this certain way, and we have to meet our obligations, and those things are important. But freedom is the most important part of being human. Like, that's all humanity. Like, all the great movies are just about freeing yourselves from your own mental prisons. You're freeing yourself from slavery, and it might be actual slavery, or it could be slavery imposed on yourself. But we need to move freely. That's humanity. We have to be free. We have to be emotionally free. We have to be physically free. We have to be movement free. And that's going to nourish ourselves. The more freedom we have, the more nourishing, more we will nourish ourselves, the more warmth will be given to our heart, and the less sclerosis we'll have in the form of, such as nail pattern baldness, a sclerotic disease. And the other thing we do is correct our emotional balance. So there's like certain movements you can do that will have an emotional effect on you. Like, just like the easiest one is just having an erect spine. That inspires confidence. Like, you feel more like I can achieve what I'm setting out to do. Like, you can overcome your fear. Or you're more likely to, or you feel like you can by just having an erect posture. And there are other gesturing exercises that we can do to counteract some of the emotions that are causing rising male energy into the skull. And I have some of those exercises on the website. All right, and then the final layer, the deepest layer, which I think we can really address the root cause of our disease, is our spirit body. So that's our mind, the mental body. The mind is a powerful thing, and it's unique to humans, and some people might disagree with that, but humans have the unique ability to control every layer of their body. They can control the soul, etheric, and physical. Animals can't do that. Animals can't control their urges, right? An animal will never fast. This is how we control our physical body. We can fast. We can be hungry but choose not to eat. An animal will never do that. Right? We have that power of our mind, and fasting has been a spiritual practice for the entire history of humanity for a reason. Because once you exercise full control over your physical body, that enhances the spirit. And yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. Like, get control over your physical urges, fasting. And it also changes your attitude. And that's what Rudolf Steiner believes was the root cause of disease, and I think it is too. I think a big part of our disease, nail pattern baldness, is our attitude. Our inner attitude and our thoughts. Kind of the same thing. Thinking gets us in our head, spans our skull. So we need to get control over our thoughts, over our attitude. Change it. Change our imbalance. But yeah, that's the first thing. Get control over your physical body with fasting. Then get control over the etheric body, the life force body, with meditation. So we have this ability to control our life force with our thoughts. Like I said before, wherever you focus your awareness, that's where the chi goes. That's where the life force goes. So we can move the life force around our body with our mind. Like, that's our unique ability as humans. It's a very powerful ability. And it has to do with awareness, right? The spirit body, the mind, it's not about thinking, right? We have the ability to think, but we have the ability to be aware. Awareness is being able to detach yourself from the three bodies and just assess the information. It's very powerful. So the more awareness we can have, awareness in our body, the more we can move the chi, the life force through our body, right? Become aware. Maybe we can move that life force to our hair, just with our thoughts. Right? And fasting from thoughts, that's another aspect of meditation. Meditation, etheric body. Right, if we just take time to stop thinking and just work on our awareness, just be aware of nature, what we're seeing, what we're smelling, what we're hearing, that's powerful. That's divine. Thinking is good, but too much thinking is a problem. It's causing soul expansion. So it's good to do that, just to stop thinking so much and cause the expansion. But it's also just for our ascension as spiritual beings, we need to cultivate this awareness. In traditional Chinese medicine, we talk about returning to the void. We all come from the void, and we all return to the void. And we can't go to the void if we're in our heads thinking, right? The void it's an absence of thought, but it's infinite awareness. And I think that's where the divine, the creator, the God is just infinite awareness. And that's what we should be striving for, infinite awareness. Not so much the thinking, right? We have to think a little bit, but we have to cultivate awareness. And that awareness is powerful. I think we can send chi all over the body, do whatever we want. Whatever we want to correct. The life force body, the etheric body, the plant body, that's a powerful body. Probably the most powerful body to produce like physical effects through. And the elites know this. Anyway, that's another video. Anyway, and the last layer where we can cultivate awareness is with mental exercise, just making an effort to control our emotions. So we can feel frustrated, we can feel angry, and we can act on those emotions. We feel stressed. We can feel fearful. But we don't have to act on those emotions. We can overcome them, right? If we're afraid of doing something, we can do it anyway. That's awareness. That's a mental exercise. That's having control over the soul body. I'm afraid, but I do it anyway. I'm afraid, but I do it anyway. I'm angry, but I don't act on it. And I'm frustrated, but I let it go. Okay? That's powerful. That's divine. That's another thing we need to be striving for. And it also will help lower the emotional energy. And I think a lot of our problem comes from here. And it starts mixing in with, it starts here, and then we got these emotions shooting up, putting rising force on the life force in our body, and then that's manifesting this skull expansion, erosion of the contours in the physical body. I think this is where it happens, right? And iron is part of it. We get that iron influx, we get that energy that affects affects our attitude, and it gets us in our head. The life force gets shot up. That's just the nature of being a male, and that's just part of the challenge of what we go through as humans. It's just part of the growth, right? It's something to overcome. I don't think male pattern baldness is just some cosmetic disease, right? I think it's something it's a reflection of something we have to overcome in this lifetime. Something spiritual, something we can do that's very powerful to help with our spiritual evolution, get us on a trajectory towards a higher realm. So I think it's an important thing to do. You just get a hair transplant, then you're not really learning anything. If the FDA approved poisons work on you, then you're not really learning anything. Right? If the biohacking stuff works, you're not really learning anything. This is where you learn stuff, right? Sorry, the video just cut out for some reason. Anyway, if this has gone long enough, check out my website, hairlossalchemy.com, for more information on my approach and all the details associated with these things. All right.